I've been kneading the injera for about 10 minutes now. You can see it's formed into a solid ball. So now we need to start thinning it out with water. You do this just a little bit of water at a time. The water is lukewarm, probably on the cooler side of lukewarm. You don't want to use water that's too hot, because if you do, it kills the yeast that's growing in the starter, and then your injera won't have any bubbles or iron whatsoever in it. And if you use water that's too cold, then it prevents the yeast from growing and multiplying as rapidly as you would like for them, and you also won't have much iron, so you want to use lukewarm water. You just keep adding it just a little at a time. You can rinse your hand off as you do it so that the injera gets back into the batter. If you don't already have an injera starter going, or any kind of sourdough starter really, you can oftentimes buy one that's already made from a bakery, or sometimes Whole Food stores will sell starter. You can also buy kits that make a starter in just, I think, a day or so. I've never done one myself. The starter I'm using is one that I made using just flour and water, and you have to let it sit for days and days and days, and eventually it captures wild yeast out of the air. And some people seem to think that that's better, superior to instant yeast. I don't know. If you don't know how to make a starter, I have information about how to do that on my blog, and you can also Google search how do I make a sourdough starter, and you'll find all kinds of really helpful resources on the internet about that. You can see the consistency, it's getting a little more soft, which is good. As you're doing this, it's important to keep squeezing with your fingers any little lumps that you feel stuck in the dough. You want to continue to scrape the injera off the sides of the container. I've found that there are all kinds of different environmental factors that can affect the quality of your injera, such as the temperature in your house. If it's too hot, the yeast and the bacteria in the starter can get out of balance. If it's too cold, sometimes the yeast won't grow as quickly as it ought to. You can see now it's starting to get quite soupy, which is good. We want it to be thin for when we let it sit out tonight. What I'm doing is I'm pulling my hand up out of it, and I'm judging whether it's thick enough based on how quickly the batter runs off my hand. That was good. I don't know if you can tell how thick it is, so I'm going to try to describe it. As I pick my hand up, it runs off, but it doesn't run off so quickly that my hand is bare, and yet it doesn't stay clumped on my hand. You want it to be just a real thin layer on your hand. When it's that thin, you know you have it right. Once you have it right, just gently rinse your hand off and cover it with a lid and let it sit on the counter overnight, and then tomorrow morning when we wake up, I'll show you how to do the next step. if you need more information, you can contact my blog. It's burakaeyae.blogspot.com, and I'll have the address in the description of this video.